In a day and age where the sports media landscape is overloaded with fake tabloids and hot takes designed just for clicks, one show cuts through the chaos with pure, unfiltered honesty. From the End to the Bench Network, this is Givin Takes. Every week we go beyond the hype to explore the sports world, tackling the most relevant topics on the board while grinding through our starting nine. So, sit back, relax, and get ready for some real perspectives. Now, here's your host, Nate Miller.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. My name is Nate Miller, and this is Givin Takes, the online sports show where every week I sit down with all you lovely fans and talk about sports. Well, I say every week. The last 2 weeks I was away on vacation. Had a great time. It was so much fun spending time with the family. It was great. But as with all vacations, they have to end at some point, and we get back. I get back home. I get back to Givin Takes. And all of you who have been going through Givin Takes withdrawals these last 2 weeks, I'm happy to say that I am back. I am here to give you your fix. So without any other lead-in, that's all there really is to say. I know you've been missing me. I've been missing doing this show for you guys. So I'm just going to get immediately into this starting nine. It is a good one this week for the 18th episode of Givin Takes. Givin Takes can legally buy lottery tickets now. Big milestone here. And let's talk about it. Leading off, we're going to be talking about what I believe is the downfall of ESPN. It's a slow burn. It's a slow death, but I believe it is happening. And I got two big reasons as to why I believe that is happening. Secondly, I have some thoughts on college sports playoffs, more specifically the college football playoff. I think there are some problems with it in terms of how the teams are decided. And I want to give you my ideas on how I believe we can fix that, or at least maybe tweak it. I don't think the NCAA is going to listen to me, but I'm going to put it out there into the universe just in case they want to. Up third, we got Bron going to the Sixers. I talked about it on my show, my last episode that was 3 weeks ago now. And I was right. I predicted Bron to the Sixers. He went to the Sixers, so I'll give a couple of quick thoughts now that he is actually on that team. Then, for the fourth topic in the cleanup spot, we're going to be taking a look back at the World Cup and my accuracy within the knockout round. And spoiler alert, for a sport I rarely ever watch, especially at the world level, I did pretty solid. So that'll be I finally have a good bracket to unveil on Givin Takes. And then in the fifth spot, we're going to be talking about bullpens in Major League Baseball. I think the majority of them are bad, like exceptionally bad, which I think is kind of odd. I don't know. It feels like we're entering an era where bullpens, it's not that they mean less. Bullpens still mean the same and are as important as they've always been, but they're just bad now. Then in the sixth spot, I got trade deadline predictions. Some are like this player to this team. Some are just general moves that I think will happen in terms of a team acquiring something. But I came up with 6 things that I'm going to rifle through and give to you there. Then in the 7th spot, as always, you've been missing it. I've been missing it, but we're back with it this week. It's the State of the Union, and it is for the Miami Marlins, who I am going to check. They might have extended their losing streak to 13. Ooh, they got bases loaded, no one out in the bottom of the ninth. They are down 2 to the Phillies. So there's a chance that the Marlins may put an end to this losing streak, but nonetheless, still very worthy of the State of the Union. Then in the 8th spot, coming back as well, the 3 studs of the week. It's going to be a little different for 3 studs of the week this week because I missed a lot of time. So I just have 3 performances that, since I've been away on this show, that I wanted to just point out and make you all aware of if you weren't aware of it already. And then finally, 9-hole, we're going to be briefly talking about this UNC investigation that just came out today, everything that's been up with that. It's mostly speculation at the moment, but still noteworthy to talk about. And then rounding us out, as always, is the top 10. I'm not going to tell you the topic here because, as you know, if you want to know the topic, you got to stay until the end of the live stream to hear it and hear me talk about sports up until that point. So, without further ado, let's get into the first topic. The downfall of ESPN. It is crazy. I feel like the general idea around ESPN has changed so much since I was a kid. Just how people view it, what their shows are now. It's just so different and interesting to me. And this is, to preface, like, this is not because of the layoffs I now have these opinions. It's just due to the layoffs happening, it made me think, oh, this is a good time to kind of air some grievances I've had about ESPN. And these layoffs have kind of helped prove my point in some ways. So I got two big reasons that I think ESPN is kind of starting to die a slow death. And the first reason is because I think they're putting all of their eggs into the Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee baskets. Now, there's a couple things to say about that. First off, do I think Stephen A. Smith or Pat McAfee are terrible at their jobs and don't deserve to be at the forefront of ESPN doing what they do? No, that is not what I'm saying here. I'm just saying that if ESPN continues to just make everything either Stephen A. Smith or Pat McAfee, then the general public, regardless of how much they love them, is going to get tired of, Stephen A. Smith and Pat McAfee. Like, I love Italian food. I got to vacation in Italy. I ate Italian food every day for 10 straight days, and I started to get tired of it. I love it, but it's just one of those things that when it's just consistently there and there and there, and it's nothing else, like, you get tired of it. So it just doesn't seem like they're marketing any of the shows. That's not a good way to put this. A better way to put this is like a show like SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. I think that is their best show that they do, hands down, and it doesn't feel like they ever use him to market anything. I think he's their best desk anchor guy. I think he's incredibly knowledgeable, funny, makes for a great show that anybody can watch, and they just don't really push SVP that much. They push the loud debate stuff, which I think is like, fun at times, but when that's like all you're kind of pushing your network to be, you become very one-dimensional. I mean, Stephen A. Smith yelling at somebody else about, like, yelling at Mad Dog Russo about something and arguing. Yeah, that's fun to watch, like, as a YouTube video maybe. If you're like, oh, great argument, yeah, let me tap in. But if you want to watch all of First Take and it's just yelling and screaming for a couple of hours, that's not an entertaining product. And I get that gets clicks, that gets viewers. I'm in sports media myself. I am not oblivious to that fact. But once again, if that's like kind of the only primary thing you're pushing alongside Pat McAfee's show, which I think is great, by the way, people are just going to grow tired of the shtick. And I think Stephen A. Smith is so fantastic at his job. Great anchor desk guy, great reporter. He's amazing. And when he actually just speaks his mind as Stephen A. Smith and does his own thing like that, I have no problems with it. But when he puts on his, like, persona of the guy that gets loud and argues with other people on television, then I find him to become a little annoying and redundant. And I don't think ESPN should continuously try to force him to be that guy. Like, let him be just Stephen A. Smith. Don't try to push, like, oh, we want loud debate on First Take all the time. Just let him do his thing. And then the second reason I have that I think ESPN's kind of starting to fall off is it kind of feels too formal now. Like, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but like, people, I'm 23. People, I feel like my age and maybe some like people who got in at the back end of being a millennial, like, watch SportsCenter as kids and ESPN as kids, like, because that was just something you watched. If you were into sports, you watched that network. And nowadays, like, it feels like ESPN kind of grew up with people my age, like it's treating, like, the kids like adults now, which they should, but at the same time, I don't think you'd find kids watching like NFL Live or First Take, really. Like, I don't see that happening. Like, shows, I could see shows, like Good Morning Football, like things like that. I know that's not an ESPN product, but that feels more of like a wide range of like, all right, you can get in the really young sports fans who want to watch and experience this network, but you also, it's intelligent enough and coherent and not dumbed down to the older viewer and everyone else, like, getting what they want. Like, it feels like they're starting to stray away more and more from talking just about like here was the box score and the highlights and how these players did, and let's forecast to what's going on next. Like ESPN used to kind of be an escape to where when you were watching it, you were just focused in on sports. And I get as, society continues to evolve, there are more pressing issues, especially politically, that become intertwined with sports, and they do need to be talked about at points. But I feel like they're just talked about way too often on ESPN, and political sports commentary has become too big a chunk of what their content is now, to where it drives away younger viewers. And that younger audience, like myself, that you had 10, 15 years ago that grew up watching, Sports Center, catching the top 10 or the not top 10 before you went to school. Like, I feel like that day and age is just kind of gone now. And part of it, I think, is what they're talking about. But part of the reason is also, like I said, they're just really filtering everything into the same two shows. So when it comes to, the rest of the stuff you're going to air on your network in terms of sports shows, you just don't have the capital to get to get exciting personalities, because they do have those still in the network despite the layoffs. But it's just not as fun anymore, it seems. It just seems dry and formal now. And I think if they continue on this track, ESPN is just going to be become a thing of a social media outlet, is going to be what it gears towards. It feels like they're focusing too much on that kind of stuff too, and not like their desk TV shows, which is what made them amazing, in my opinion. So I don't think they're dead yet, but I think because of those two reasons, they're kind of starting to inch towards a decline and just a lot of people losing interest. So that's all I have about the downfall of ESPN. Quick update. The Marlins did come back in the bottom of the ninth, and they took the lead 8-7 to win the game. They snapped the 12-game losing streak. Still going to be talking about them on State of the Union, but I saw that score, so I wanted to keep you all updated. We're going to be moving into our second topic now, which is college sports playoffs. So, as I said, when I was on vacation, I had a lot of time to just think about stuff. Looking at a lot of social media when I'm just chilling in my hotel room. You see headlines and you just start to think. And I was seeing a lot of stuff about college football ramping up and stuff about their playoff. And it just made me think, I think this playoff should be better. I think it could be fixed. I like that they expanded it to 12 teams. But in my opinion, at this point, people are treating college football more and more like a professional sports league. I think as that continues to go on and you're paying players, that making the playoffs, there should be a concrete way to do it. You do this, you make the playoffs, just like the NFL. There is no, we thought the Ravens were better than the Steelers last year, so we're going to put them in a wild card spot, and that's how it's going to go. That doesn't happen at the highest levels, so I think there needs to be a way for that to start happening within collegiate sports. Make a team have a goal, and it'd be like, all right, if we reach that goal, we make the playoffs. And this can be true for both college football and college basketball. Not as much college basketball, because with the expansion, 70 win the national title. So I think your right to complain is even less than it was before if your team gets cut out. If you're not in the top 76, you should not be complaining. The 75th best at anything doesn't typically have a shot to win. So the fact that you're even getting a chance is something. But when we knock it down to 12 in college football, I think I have found a way to kind of fix this. And people will say oh, no, that doesn't make sense, whatever. But in terms of the best teams getting in and you doing something to earn a spot in the playoffs, this is how I think it should go. So for the 4 highest seeds should just be the Power 4 conference champs, SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC. You win your conference championship game, you are auto-seeded 1 through 4. Those 4 teams are the 1 through 4 seed. No one else can bypass them. Then, for the 5 through 8 seeds, I think it should be all the conference championship game runner-ups. If you were second best in your conference and you make the championship game and you lose, you get in, but what weighs that game is whether or not you're going to get a first-round bye in the playoffs or a home playoff game in the first round. I don't think that's giving out bids to teams that don't deserve it. We have a group of 6 teams. We had Tulane and North Texas in the playoff last year. So I think saying a team like Virginia, who lost the ACC championship to Duke, both of those teams should be able to get in. Or did Virginia beat Duke last year? I don't I don't even remember it clearly. But regardless, you catch my drift. If you are one of the top 2 teams in a Power 4 conference and you make that championship game, win or lose, that should be clinching the playoffs by making it and playing for a first-round bye within the championship game. That seems like a fair, balanced way, not only to get the main team or the best teams in, like the best 2 across each of those 4 conferences, but also still have weight and gravity to the conference championship games. Not as much as, oh, you might not make it if you win. It'll just be you're in, but you're either a 5 through 8 or a 1 through 4. And I feel like playing for a first-round bye and obviously a conference championship, if that wasn't enough, will still make those games hold a lot of weight and be very important. Now, for the last 4 seeds, 9 through 12, this is where I can't exactly back up my, oh, you have a goal, you attain it, this is what you do. For the bottom 4 seeds, I think it should be the remaining highest 4 seeds in the AP poll. Like, don't do any new AP poll after all the conference championships games. Whatever the AP poll was before the conference championship game, 1 through 12, the 4 highest teams that aren't within the conference championship games should be 9 through 12. Yeah, that might mean a team like Georgia is playing a team like Virginia at home. And it's like, oh, well, Virginia shouldn't get a draw like this for Georgia. And because that's not fair. They were second and they were runner up in their conference, But at the same time, that's just, you got to get the best 12 teams in there. That's what I feel. And this is kind of a playoff like the Notre Dame rule that they have right now, which is if Notre Dame is a top 12 seed in the AP poll by the end of the year, then they're an auto bid for the playoff because they won't join a conference. Just expand that to every team that can be ranked within the AP poll. You take the 8 teams who are conference championship teams, auto bids, and then the 4 highest rated teams after that get 9 through 12. I mean, that seems pretty simple to me. I don't think many people could find a way to complain about that. Obviously, the last 4 seeded teams will be complaining, but like if you just barely miss out, like that part is ranking disparity. But that takes it down from 8 teams that you're solely basing off of rank and opinions of writers, and you cut it in half to 4, and it just better helps get the best teams in the playoffs. Because like Oregon against Tulane and North Texas against whoever they played last year, like, yeah, it's nice to get those group of 6 teams in and give them a chance. But at the same time, like, are they really going to do anything like in the playoffs? Like, they're not very entertaining games to watch. Like, get the better teams in there. And this isn't like, and a group of 6 team could still earn it in there. If they play well enough, push up in the ranks, they could be that. It wouldn't be as likely, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, should a team like North Texas really be taking a spot away from a team like Notre Dame? Because North Texas, virtually no 0% chance to win the playoff. Notre Dame has some chance to win the playoff. So in that regard, like I said, I think it goes 4 conference champs 1 through 4, the 4 conference runner-ups 5 through 8, and then the 4 highest seeded teams, excluding those other 8, get 9 through 12, obviously in order of what they're ranked. So I was thinking about that a lot just because, there's always so much outrage with the playoff every single year. And I just think we need to mitigate how much of it is up to the decision of a group of people who never stepped on the football field. Now, we're going to be moving on. This is going to be our 3rd topic now. Big news that dropped. LeBron to the Sixers. I believe this was Saturday morning it came out, maybe Friday morning. I don't exactly remember, but this was big. And first of all, I mean, I'm going to be the first one to say I called it. I told everyone on my last show, LeBron should go to the Sixers. It made the most sense. They had the best team. He fit in well. He wants to bring a championship to a team that hasn't won it in a long time. This just seemed like the right team to do it for me. And clearly LeBron agreed. And I love that his deal is only 2 years, $8 million, which is the vet minimum, because he is over 40 years old. He doesn't deserve, supermax money. Like, he shouldn't be getting, I'd say even like over $15 million a year. I would have been like, wow, they're paying him a good bit. So I'm happy Bron and Rich Paul, they all knew like, he shouldn't be taking up money from other spots that the organization can use it, because he is 41. He's going to be running point guard, which I think is interesting. I don't know how long that's going to hold up for. If I had to bet on it, there's going to be a positional change at some point in the season just because of all the wear and tear on LeBron. I just don't think he's going to be able to run point guard every single game. But it doesn't change my stance on the Sixers much pre-LeBron trade and post-LeBron trade. And granted, like, his mental game is unmatched. There's no one else you're going to find that has as much experience and basketball IQ and playoff, I don't know what the word is, like the playoff pedigree of LeBron James. Like, adding a vet like that to the locker room is insanely valuable. That is not lost on me. But what I do want to say is the people who are acting like the Sixers just signed Jokic or Shea or Luka, like, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, we're talking about a 41-year-old who will play 50 to 60 games if he's lucky. And that's not a knock on Bron. Like, he's just old, load management, wear and tear. Like, you're talking about a guy who hopefully plays over 2/3 of your team's games. And if he's also lucky, he's going to maybe average 20, 25 max. Like, we're not talking about a superstar here. Again, the guy used to be a superstar. And I'm not trying to say LeBron sucks, but I don't think it moves the needle that much from how I viewed the Sixers before this trade. I mean, yeah, LeBron's great. Like I said, I could say that a million times, but at the same time, like I said, they're not adding some young, insane superstar who is going to average 30 plus next season and play 70 games. Like, that's not who LeBron is. That's who he used to be. He's not that anymore. He's going to probably average low 20s and play about 60 games-ish and probably not even qualify for awards. So while this is exciting, especially for Sixers fans, sports fans, we got at least 2 more years of Bron. You either love that or hate that, depending on how you feel about LeBron James. I just don't – people shouldn't view the Sixers now as a championship team because of LeBron James. LeBron James helps, but they became a championship contender because of Jaylen Brown. And LeBron is just kind of reinforcing that and making the lineup more well-rounded. They have to stay healthy, obviously, but that's all I really got on it. I wanted to, speak on it. It's a big topic, but at the same time, I just don't really think LeBron moves the needle that much. And when I think of it more, like, he wasn't really going to move the needle that much on any team he went to. People were talking about, if he goes to Miami, they're going to be a contender. No, they weren't. Like, if he went to Miami, they were going to still just be okay. Because like I said, you're talking about a 41-year-old who might play 2/3 of the games and hopefully average 20. Like, if I told you your team was signing a 40-year-old who might play almost 2/3 of the games and maybe average 20, I don't think you're going to be that excited. But you just paraphrase all of what I just said into the name LeBron James, and all of a sudden people are like, whoa, like, yeah, let's go. Like, I get the excitement. It's fun. But at the same time, it's not that big of a needle mover, in my opinion. But it'll still be fun to see how it goes. Everyone will be watching a lot of Sixers ball next year because they have like 32 primetime games or something, maybe 34. Like, the most the team is physically allowed to have. So everyone will be watching the Sixers next year, and I'm not going to hate on them and say I hope they do bad. Like, that's not at all what this is. Like, I'm not rooting against them per se. I'm just saying everyone needs to get it straight that they are not good because of LeBron. LeBron is just reinforcing the fact that this is a good team. Now, we're going to be moving over from talking about putting balls in nets to putting balls, well, in just different types of nets. Goals, actually, in the knockout round. There were a lot of them, lots of goals. I watched a decent amount of the games. I can't say I watched every single one because I'd be lying to you, but I watched the big ones. Quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, and then a couple of like the second round games, the USA, and a couple other first round games. I watched it sparsely, but I did watch games. And I got to say, it was very fun. It was very enjoyable. I'm not going to say I'm like the biggest soccer fan in the world now, because that would also be a lie, but I am more knowledgeable now about the game at the world's level because, I paid more attention this year, became a big Erling Haaland guy. Like 90% of America did as well. Everyone loves that guy now. I think it's great that there's a personality in European soccer that now has like a lot of influence in America. Hopefully that gets more people to watch games overseas and stuff. But I enjoyed the World Cup, and I more so enjoyed how just like solid my bracket was. So I'm going to put it up here for you, take away the banner so you can see it in all of its glory. This is what my bracket was. Obviously, France didn't win, but in terms of percentages and getting picks right, I did pretty good. There were 16 to make in the first round, 8 in the second, 4 in the quarterfinals, 2 picks in the semifinals, and then obviously picking a champion. So that is 31 total picks. So I'm going to run through how I did real quick. I only missed 4 picks in the first round. I went 12 for 16. Damn near hit the nail right on the head and went perfect. I was close. I had Germany beating Paraguay. That was incorrect. I had I had Netherlands beating Morocco. That was incorrect. I had Croatia beating Portugal. That was also incorrect. And then I believe, I think that was all 4. Oh, and I don't think Canada advanced. I wish I would have wrote it down. I just wrote 12 out of 16 when I did my prep. But one of you who has the other bracket in front of you can better pick out the 4th one that I got wrong. But I did pretty well, a lot better than I expected within this first round. Actually, I remember Ghana moved. I had Ghana moving on. It was Colombia who won that game at the bottom. So that was the 4th one that I missed. So 12 for 16 in the first round, and then move on to the second round, picking the quarterfinal teams. I had 5 of the 8 quarterfinal teams right. The entire bottom I had correct: Switzerland, Argentina, England, and Norway. And then I had France moving on, and I got the Netherlands, Croatia, and the USA wrong. Put a little too much faith in the USA. And also, I will be at the forefront. Yes, I had the World Cup champion going out in the second round to a team that lost in the first round. But in all fairness, I wasn't familiar with Spain's game like that. I'll be the first one to admit it. I didn't realize Spain was like that. Their draw with Cape Verde, I think, deterred me a little bit, made me think like, oh, they're not all they're cracked up to be. But that's more a testament to how great Cape Verde played just the entirety of the tournament. Shout out to them. They made for some entertaining games. But yeah, so 5 for 8 in the second round. And then looking at the quarterfinals, picking the 4 semifinal teams, I went 3 for 4, like another solid round. I had I had France, England, and Argentina all picked correctly. And the sore thumb right there is obviously the USA. And then this is where it obviously gets less exciting. I had France and England both winning. They both lost. That was the 3rd place matchup. The actual final was obviously Spain against Argentina, in which Spain took it home. So obviously for the semifinals and the championship game, I went 0 for 2 and 0 for 1 respectively. But when you look at it as a whole, of 31 total picks, I got 20. I got 20 correct. That's an accuracy of 64.5%. That's almost 2/3 of the World Cup bracket perfect. And that's pretty damn good for me. I mean, for a sport that I, like I said at the top, rarely watch, especially at the world level, most of this was just kind of picking, not totally blindly. Like I'm not oblivious to a lot of things, but there were some tough matchups to pick here, like Mexico and England, Norway and England. Both of those could have gone either way. I mean, obviously, like there was a bunch of others on here, but I think all things considered, given like my NHL and NBA playoff brackets were not nearly as good, like in the 50s, I think hitting 65% almost for the World Cup, I'm pretty proud of that. I saw there was a guy out there that almost had a perfect bracket. That was insane. That I think it came down to if Norway would have beat England, I think his bracket would have remained perfect. Like he had a perfect bracket for so long. Incredibly impressive, but mine's not as impressive as that, but I still think it's pretty good. And, you know, I wanted to flex it and share it with you all, as I do with every bracket that I make on this show. So that's all for the knockout round accuracy. I know y'all love seeing my picks and then if those picks hold up. So going to keep doing that. I don't know when the next tournament style thing that I'm going to pick has to be. Probably not until Major League Baseball playoffs get going in October. So it'll be a while before I do it again, but I'm thinking for the MLB, I'm probably going to go 100%. Like that one I have to be good on. I watch so much Major League Baseball that if I'm not at least 70%, it's going to be a bad look for me. But actually talking about Major League Baseball now, and the Pittsburgh Pirates walked it off in the 10th against the Diamondbacks. That's great for me. And a good segue into the fact that, bullpens are bad. I know that firsthand because the aforementioned Pittsburgh Pirates, who tend to be not so good in the later games. There was a point this year where I believe I saw a stat, I think this was around mid to late June, that if baseball games were only 7 innings long, the Pirates would have been the best team in Major League Baseball, hands down, by like 3 or 4 games over the Dodgers at that point. Like, it was ridiculous. The Pirates, they have a terrible bullpen, and the more the trade deadline ramped up and you hear teams talking about what they want to do at the deadline and fans talking about what they want their teams to do at the deadline, so many teams are asking for a better bullpen. Like, they're like, oh, our bullpen sucks. Our bullpen's holding us back this year. And first I thought it was just me and a couple of other select teams, but then I went and looked at it, and there is a large sum of bad bullpens this year. And I think this is a trend that I think has started softly in recent years, but it's just really started to ramp up. I mean, bullpen ERAs range from 3.05 is the lowest, the best, the Boston Red Sox, to 5.53 of the Oakland Athletics, or the Sacramento Athletics, Vegas Athletics, whatever you want to call them. 16 teams, over half of the league, has a bullpen ERA that's over 4. That's terrible. Like, every team can say maybe they have like one good reliever, maybe. But you don't, I remember the days of being a Pirate fan in 2013 to 2015 where we had the Shark Tank. We had a bunch of guys in our bullpen that were lights out. Nowadays, you feel lucky to get a nice 1-2 combo for the 8th and the 9th that can lock it down for you. The art of a really solid setup man and that lockdown closer just seem to have gone by the wayside, in my opinion. There just aren't a large pool of good relievers in the league anymore. There are 30 teams in Major League Baseball, maybe 60 good relievers max. And that's assuming every team has 2 really good relievers, which, let's be honest, that's not the case. So it's probably even less than that. And this isn't a segment where I'm like, okay, this is what's going on, so this is how I believe we fix it. There is really no way that you can just say, oh, we're just gonna go out and fix this, because you can't, because it's not like a team is doing something wrong. It's just the majority of pitchers nowadays, if you're good, are either 1-inning closers or starters that go 6 innings. There need to be the idea of middle and long relief in the MLB is just like a dying art. The closest thing I see to it is a guy on my team, the Pirates, Carmen Majinski, who can go out and pitch 3 to 4 innings, and he's been pretty solid. Hasn't had too many bad games since moving to a reliever, but he was a starter who the team said, all right, we have a lot of good starters. We can move you to long middle relief, which is a very valuable piece to have on a team if you have a secondary guy that can get you to a lockdown closer that can pitch once every 3 or 4 days. That just isn't happening in baseball anymore, and I don't want to blame it on managers or anything, because I don't think that's necessarily the reason. I just think all the good pitchers are either closers or start. No one wants to be the middle relief guy. No one wants to be oh, I'm the best long reliever in the game. I think for young pitchers, it's more attractive to, be a starter or a closer. But I just there's no one with a sub-3 bullpen ERA in Major League Baseball. That's crazy to me. It feels like there was always that one bullpen that was locked down. Oh, this team, if you once we get into the bullpen, we're good. As I said, Pirates used to have some of those. Even the Yankees, who have the second best bullpen ERA right now, have a lot of relievers that have blown them games fairly consistently. It is amazing to me that this is just the standard for bullpens now. And it feels like if any team in Major League Baseball can figure out a way to get one of those sub-3 ERA bullpens, which honestly you could probably get if you just had 4 really solid relievers, they would be one of the best teams in the game by comparison. So bullpens are bad. I wish they weren't. I love the idea of a bullpen and relievers. It's just more people need to start becoming good middle relievers instead of bad starters. Like, because there are a lot of guys, it's like, oh, after one time through the order, like this guy starts to get shaky on the mound and he's a starter. Well, why not make him a max 3-inning relief guy? Like, start converting some of those meh starters to above average relievers. Like, I think more teams need to do that to bolster their bullpens, because every trade deadline, granted, you're always going to want to bolster your bullpen, but this year more than other years, it feels like everyone's trying to save their bullpen at the trade deadline. Speaking of the trade deadline, feels like a great time to now transition into our sixth topic, which are my trade deadline predictions. As I said at the top, I have 6. I was originally just going to do 3, but then I just kept coming up with ideas, so I made it 6. And that also helps out because a lot of my first 5 topics, if you can tell, were just kind of hip fire things, like quick, like ideas, like, hey, here's what it is. Part of that was also to carve out a bit of the time that I wanted to use to really dive deep into this, this topic of trades. So the first one, I'm going to stick with talking about bullpen. I think either Mason Miller or Luke Weaver is going to be a Pittsburgh Pirate. This is a team that, after this win against the Diamondbacks tonight, are now in a playoff spot. The Pirates are in a playoff spot right now. If the season ended right now, they said, cancel Major League Baseball, it's over, we're starting the playoffs tomorrow. The Pirates are in it, which is very exciting because it's almost August, and I cannot remember the last time that's happened for me. And the Achilles heel of this team has been the bullpen. If they get a Mason Miller or a Luke Weaver just to kind of help that pen out, it changes things drastically. And they have the offensive capital to do it. I mean, I love Brandon Lau. He walked the game off for us tonight, but he hasn't been that level of amazing that he was in the first half, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. If you need to trade away a second baseman like that to the Padres, who are also trying to make a playoff push that aren't really that good offensively, to get Mason Miller, yes, it hurts the lineup a little bit, but this is a team with like the second most runs scored in baseball. You can afford to give away a bat to help out where you really need it, which is the back end of the bullpen. Because Dennis Santana got DFA'd. He was our closer at the beginning of the year. He sucks now. Gregory Soto has been better. He had a great outing today against the Diamondbacks. And guys like Mason Montgomery and Isaac Mattson have been better for us as well. So the bullpen is starting to return to form a bit. But if you can just add in a lights-out guy like a Weaver or a Miller, this team becomes a legitimate contender. And you might not believe me, but I probably watch more Pirates baseball than you, so you're going to have to trust me on this. Second pick that I have, I'm staying in the NL Central. I got Tarik Skubal going to the Brewers. I think this makes the most sense. And obviously, everyone is thinking the Dodgers, but they say that every year there's a big star. And I hope for once that Scott Boras doesn't just like, yeah, we're going to move you to the – or I guess Scott Boras doesn't really have any say in that. I don't like Scott Boras. But I just hope Skubal doesn't go to the Dodgers. And the second best option to me, I mean, pairing him with Mizorowski, a Mizorowski-Skubal 1-2 punch, I mean, that's a playoff team that will go far. And the Brewers have the number 1 farm system ranked. So clearly they have enough that they can give back to the Tigers to make this worth their while. I mean, if I'm the Tigers, I honestly look at the Brewers as a better trading partner than the Dodgers. And there isn't too much difference because it's not like one of them is a divisional rival or an AL team and one's not. Like, they're both National League teams that have no real direct effect on the Tigers. I think they should go to the Brewers because the Tigers will be able to get better capital back in that trade. And also, I mean, if I'm Skubal, you're a guy who's always pitched in a fairly small market in Detroit. I say you just move, right from Michigan to Wisconsin, not a crazy far trip, stay in the small market, because what I tend to see a lot is these big market teams will pick up a player who's been great on a small market, and then they'll start to stink a little bit because maybe they're not built for big markets. I don't know if that's going to be Tarik Skubal. I'm not saying it will be with any certainty or anything like that. But what I am saying is if it's a guy who thrives in a small market, I don't think if I'm him and I can have any say in where I get moved, I would want to stay in kind of a smaller market that also is the best team in baseball right now, I believe, record-wise. So I think it would be smart for Tarik Skubal to go to the Brewers. I think that's perfect for both sides. And yes, I know the Tigers are kind of in the mix a little bit. And if they get hot, maybe they could push for a playoff spot. But I would just pull the plug and say next time, like, beef up for next year. Skubal is good for 1 in every 5 games, and you didn't even have him for like 5 or 6 months, or not 5 or 6 months. You didn't even have him for like 2 or 3 months of this season. Just pull the plug on him, get value for him while you can, because the odds of you re-signing him are low. So try to get something for him instead of nothing. My third pick that I got is Luis Arias to the Rays. The Rays could use a second baseman, and on Hitting for the Cycle recently, not too recently, a couple weeks ago, I said that I thought Ketel Marte would go to the Rays. But now, all of a sudden, the Rays are tied, or the Diamondbacks are tied with the Pirates for that last playoff spot. Pirates have the tiebreaker against the Diamondbacks. That's who they beat tonight. That's why I said earlier the Pirates are in the playoff spot. But the Diamondbacks are right there knocking on the door. Like, I don't know if they're going to want to trade Ketel now. Even though he's a free agent at the end of the season, I think they're in too good of a spot to go and try to start messing with the offense. I don't think that would be a good idea. I think they should keep what's working and keep Ketel on that team. I think they should buy. I don't think they should necessarily sell him unless it's kind of for like a trade of another good player that they're getting in return, kind of like an even trade, not like a sell trade. And I just don't think the Rays would be willing to give anyone up back in that scenario. However, Luis Arias on the Giants, a team that's absolutely awful, I think is a fantastic candidate for that. So I like him moving to the Rays. And in my fourth pick, another NL Central team, I think Kevin Gausman is going to go to the Cubs from the Blue Jays. Cubs need starting pitching. Blue Jays aren't all that good this year, especially considering they were 1 strike away from winning the World Series last year. I mean, they had a bad fall off. Fill some of the holes, and also, like, if you're going to somehow get hot going around, like, you got Dylan Cease. He's been your guy. Kevin Gausman, you can afford to move on from in trades. So if I'm looking at other teams, if I'm the Jays, if I'm looking at other teams, if I'm the Cubs, I'm looking at Kevin Gausman as an affordable guy that we can go out and get and help us in our weak spot, which has been pitching. The offense has been great, but there's just been so many injuries to them on the pitching side of things that they could use another solid starter. So that is the fourth move I have. Now, these last 2 moves are not, I think this player is going to go here. They're more general kind of things that I think will happen throughout the course of the trade deadline. First one, and also the fifth one, the Mets are going to sell at least 4 players who are on the opening day roster. The pool of names that I'm looking at to move, and I don't exactly know where all these guys will go because there's so many and there's so many variables at play with taking up contracts and stuff that I didn't want to crunch all the numbers, so I generalized it. I think from the pool of Freddie Peralta, Francisco Lindor, Devin Williams, AJ Minter, Clay Holmes, Luke Weaver, and Luis Robert Jr., at least 4 of those guys get moved. I was thinking about throwing like Marcus Semien or Bo Bichette in there, but I don't know what the odds of they get moved are because they're not really having that great of years for like other teams to be attracted to that. So I don't know where they'll go. I don't know necessarily, but the Mets need to fire sell. Like they picked up a lot of, I don't want to say has-beens, but just players that I think were kind of inching past their prime a little bit, not like getting into it. And the experiment didn't work, obviously. They are last in the NL East, which is absolutely insane to think about, especially after the Marlins just lost 12 straight. They are still in last place in their division. The experiment didn't work. You need to burn it. You need to start over. Trade these guys. Get stuff back. I mean, it's as simple as that. There's not much more else to say on it because bad team needs to sell their good players. That's all it is. The Mets have been trying to recapture that magic from the 2024 NLCS run, and they just haven't been able to do it. And my last thing is this has been a very hot name in trade talks recently. However, I don't think he's going to be moved. I don't think he should be moved at least. Catcher Hunter Goodman should stay a Rocky. Now, this guy is elite. I think he's either at or pushing 30 home runs this season as a catcher. It's got a whole lot of pop. And most of his homers are away and not at home. So you can't even just say, oh, the Coors numbers inflate his stats. Because that's not really the case. This guy has just been a great hitter. Altitude hasn't made him a good hitter. And I think it's just for the sake of the Rockies starting to become better, they need to hang on to him and build around him. Just like in the Pirates teams of past where everyone was like, trade Brian Reynolds, trade Brian Reynolds. He was in trade talks every year and people were yelling at us to trade Brian Reynolds. And we wouldn't do it. We extended him. We built around him. And now he's the 3 hitter in one of the best offenses in the league and a crucial part to our success this season. I think the Rockies need to see that and know that while they're bad this year, they're bad while they're young, which is different than the Mets, who are bad and old. They have time. I mean, they got other guys, like Cole Carrig and Jake McCarthy, TJ Rumfield. Like, they can't pitch at all. The Rockies actually have a decent offense, but just cannot pitch to save their lives. Keep this guy and build around him. Don't just trade him unless you somehow think you're getting, don't trade him for prospects. Please don't trade Hunter Goodman for prospects if you're going to trade him. Get some major league talent, because this guy is the type of guy that you can build around to change the culture in Colorado to get yourself back to the days of the 2018 wild card victory against the Cubs. You can get back to that. Did they beat the Cubs in that wild card game or did they lose? I know it was in Wrigley. I don't remember if they won or lost, but I do remember that game being incredibly entertaining. And I think it had a little bit of a controversy with a double play. That was back in 2018. That was a good game. That was a very good game. And baseball is fun when teams who have been bad for a while are good. I mean, the Pirates have been bad for a while. They're good again. The White Sox have been bad for a while. They're good again. The Orioles had a bit of a renaissance a couple years ago, being the number 1 overall seed in the American League. It's about time that the Rockies hit that turnaround. The Rockies, for the good of baseball, should become relevant again. Whew, so those were my 6 trade deadline predictions. The trade deadline is on August 3rd at 6 p.m. So this time next week on my episode of Givin Takes, we'll be talking about, a bunch of the trades that just went down. They'll be 3 hours fresh for those ones that get in right at the deadline. And we'll also be revisiting these predictions to see if any of them came to fruition. So these aren't going by the wayside. On the very next episode of Givin Takes, we're going to be bringing these back up and seeing if they were correct or incorrect. Whew, now staying within the baseball world, we're going to move to everybody's favorite. Well, maybe not everybody's favorite, but my favorite for sure. And I'm just going to assume it's everybody else's favorite for the purposes of leading us into the topic. State of the Union time, baby. It's been a while since we've yelled at a baseball team for being bad. And the team taking their turn in the chair this week to get yelled at is none other than the Miami Marlins, as you can see. So, leading into this episode, I was thinking about the fact, didn't I give the Marlins the Team of the Month award for June on my last episode? And I went back and looked, and I did, because they were 8 games under 500 before June, and then in June they went 20-8, 12 games over 500, franchise best, run differential plus 53. They were 7 games over 500 as of July 6th, and they were in a playoff spot at the All-Star break. And then all of a sudden, they took that 12 games over 500 that they went in June and complemented it by losing 12 straight in July. Before the game against the Phillies today, in which they came back in the 9th and won, which is wow. They really were we're not losing 13 in a row. They stopped it at 12. It's a 12-game losing streak. They were 2 games under 500 and 3 games back of the wild card. They were the 5th team out. Now, after having that game being played, they're only 2 games out of the wild card. They're 1 game under 500. Their run differential is plus 3, but they're still the 5th team out. They got the Padres, the Nationals, the Cardinals, and the Diamondbacks in front of them in the standings right now. And then the Cubs, Phillies, and Pirates hold the 3 wild card spots currently. During that 12-game losing streak, they endured 4 sweeps. It was a sweep by the Guardians, sweep by the Astros, sweep by the Padres, and a sweep by the Brewers. It was a collapse so bad that it took away all chances of them being easily buyers, I think. This losing streak, the GM must be losing his mind, because this losing streak completely can change this losing streak completely changed the complexity of what this team is going to do at the trade deadline thing. And you can say, like, what went wrong? Like, in a 12-game losing streak, you have to ask what went wrong. And honestly, just everyone playing bad. I mean, yeah, maybe you could say because that guy pulled Yuri Perez in the perfect game, they were cursed, because after that pull, they swept the Mariners and then got swept 4 straight times. I'm not going to say that, but I do want to remind everyone of the fact that Chase McCullough made a boneheaded move pulling Yuri Perez. And maybe I think the baseball gods are making him pay for a little bit. Sure. But in actuality, not talking about fictional curses and stuff, they're just not playing that well. Could you say that they played way above expectations for the entire month of June and then just came crashing back down in July? Sure, but also, like, it's a little bit more than that. Like, sure, that 20-8 is better than their skill level, but I don't think it's that much better. Also, because, like, 0-12 stretch is way worse than their skill level. That's not what they're at either. Like, they're a decent, solid team, and obviously things like this in baseball, they even out. But throughout the course of 12 games, going from a 53-run differential to 2, like going negative 51 in a 12-game stretch, like that means you're pitching bad. That means you're hitting bad. Like, just everything is not working for you. So there's not necessarily like one person to point the finger at and blame or say this is why. It's just all 3 phases of the game. Bullpen, starting, pitching, and lineup just have all been underperforming. But as I mentioned, they finally came in clutch tonight against the Philadelphia Phillies. So in terms of the Marlins going forward, with this week being trade deadline week, the absolute worst case scenario for the Marlins is that they do nothing. If the Marlins do nothing, that is awful. You either need to be like, all right, that 12-game losing streak hurt us. It's time to sell, fill the holes that were bad, and beef up for next year and get ready to hit the ground running and go. That's one option. The other option is to be like, we are a good enough team to go out, sell some young guys, buy, and make a legit push for the 3rd wild card spot this season. They have 2 options. They need to commit to one of those, because just staying the same, that's never good for a team on the fringe like this. Like, you can't stay stagnant. You need to move the needle one of 2 ways in order to try to better help yourself for, I mean, we might have a season in 2027. I don't know yet. That's a conversation for another day. But you need to do something to just help out your future, because as a lot of teams will know, doing nothing at the deadline when you're a like fringe team like this is just the absolute worst thing you can do. And also, that's the end of the State of the Union. But looking at the standings, I wanted to make this little aside. The Mets, Giants, and the Mets and Giants are 10 games back of the wild card. Rockies are 13. And then you go up, and then it's the Cincinnati Reds are the next worst at only 4.5 games back. And then the Marlins at 2 games back. Like, the National League is incredibly good and competitive this year. And then you can say the same thing, like, in the AL wild card, like, Angels are 11.5 back. And then you got the Royals and the Athletics, who are both 9 games back. And then next worst after that, Toronto at 5 games back, and then Detroit 4. Like, there's a lot of teams that are deep down that wild card list with like 5 or 6 teams ahead of them that are only like a good 2 mix of the playoff race. So there's still a lot of parity and a lot of theorizing to happen in terms of which 3 teams will be the wild card teams in each division. Because, I mean, Cubs are pretty solid. They're 5 games up in the wild card, and then the Yankees as well at 6. But Boston's only 1.5 ahead of being out of a wild card spot. Phillies are only 2 games ahead out of being out of a wild card spot. Like, this is going to be an incredibly fun stretch of baseball from now until October. I mean, I didn't even realize it as much until right now, but this stretch is going to be fun. But instead of looking forward, we're going to switch it up, and we're going to look backwards. We're going to talk about the 3 studs of the week. So this is kind of overarching. Like I said, it wasn't just for this past week, because to be honest, I didn't watch as much baseball across the league as I typically do when I was away. I mostly just kept up with the Pirates and the teams that were battling them in the wild card. But I still did pick out 3 performances between July 7th and today that I wanted to highlight either single game or week long. So the first one up is my small stud, which is Jordan Walker. Jordan Walker was your home run derby champion. He beat Kyle Schwarber in the final round. I wish I was watching it live. I wasn't, just because of the time difference from where I was at. It was like right in the middle of the night. I just was not awake for it. But battling roaring boos, he hit 6 consecutive home runs on his final 6 swings to best Kyle Schwarber on his home turf. I mean, in terms of a clutch, like back against the wall performance in a home run derby, that one's pretty dang good. So hats off to Jordan Walker. That was impressive. My medium stud is Ryan O'Hearn. I don't think I talked about this on the show yet, and I wanted to make sure I talked about it at some point, so I decided to make him my medium stud. He broke the Pirates franchise record for RBIs in a game with 10. He hit a grand slam and 2 3-run shots, and he had 10 RBIs. Franchise record. Absolutely amazing performance. And just there were probably guys who did better since then, but I hadn't mentioned it on the show yet. So I wanted to give Ryan O'Hearn his flowers and his love. He is my medium stud. And then finally, I got another Pirate. And no, this is not just Pirate bias. This one, if you're not familiar with his name, get familiar with it, even though he sadly left the game after getting hit on the hand with the pitch tonight. Hope for a speedy recovery from him. Esmeralyn Valdez. If you're not familiar, he is a rookie who's just absolutely been punishing the baseball. Between July 6th and July 19th, he led the MLB in home runs with 6 and RBIs with 15. He has just been absolutely insane as a rookie. He only has 123 professional at-bats and has already recorded 14 home runs and 36 RBIs within those at-bats. That's a home run rate of 11%. And that's crazy. Granted, small sample size, but this is also his first taste of the majors. So the small sample size is all we got. And what we know is that this guy is a lethal power bat. And if you're, like I said, if you're not familiar, get familiar, because this guy has some serious pop. So running it back, the small stud was Jordan Walker. The medium stud was Ryan O'Hearn. And the big stud was my boy Esmeralyn Valdez. Learn the name. I think he's going to be a star. Found his way into the top 3 in Rookie of the Year voting, too, which is just incredible given he's only got 123 plate appearances. And now we're going to be getting into our 9th and final sports-related topic before the top 10. Very quickly, very briefly, we're going to be talking about this North Carolina Tar Heels investigation, the UNC investigation. That's not the UNC investigation. The UNCs are probably fine. This is University of North Carolina getting investigated. So I was just made aware of this news this afternoon around 3 o'clock. And from my research, this is what I got for you guys. Because as of now, most of this seems like speculation, but this is most definitely going to turn into a big, more widespread story once more details come out about it. So I'm just going to let you all what I believe the entirety of the general public knows now. I don't believe there have been any more details released since I prepped for this earlier today, so I'm going to give you what I got. General Manager Michael Lombardi was placed on administrative leave by the university administration. That's never a good sign. And it is because the football team is being investigated by the College Sports Commission. And just, of course, Bill Belichick finds himself in the midst of another scandal. I mean, that guy just cannot get away from his football teams being investigated. Now, for what they are exactly under investigation of is not clear yet, but given they're being investigated by the College Sports Commission, they're likely under investigation for something like third-party NIL contracts, institutional revenue sharing caps, or sports-specific roster limits, because those are the things that the College Sports Commission primarily handles. Now, this all stemmed from a human resources complaint that was filed by a former front office staff member. However, that is believed to be unrelated to the matter that the CSC is investigating. So it seemed like someone filed a complaint that then led to an investigation by the College Sports Commission. So there are no concrete details as to what it is yet necessarily. That is all still speculation. It's not too many facts. But when something like this, when you hear the rumblings of stuff like this starts to happen, this usually means that there are going to be some North Carolina higher-ups getting fired here in the near future. So I'm not here to point any fingers or act like I know what they did because, A, I'm not going to, like, say any libelous stuff towards people, and B, like, I can't say I watched that much North Carolina Tar Heel football last year, so it's not like I can even think or pinpoint, like, oh, yeah, that thing, or they got that guy, and that might be the reason. Like, I don't really have a place to say or act like I know what's going on, but from what it seems, it's going to be a sticky situation. People are going to be losing their jobs, and it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. If more news pops up on it, I'll continue to cover it on the show, but very interesting story starting to bud today. And we're only in the beginning hours of this story breaking, so I assume throughout this week and the weeks following leading into this football season, we're going to get more and more details as to exactly what the North Carolina Tar Heels are specifically under investigation for. Whew! So that's all I got for sports. That was my quick piece on the UNC investigation. Because like I said, there's just not much to go off of right now, but we can speculate what it might be. And with all that sports talk out of the way, we're going to get into the fun part of the show. We're talking about bullpens not having a reliable closer. Well, Givin Takes has a reliable closer, baby. The top 10 every week. He's there, except for that one time where I ran out of time and had to do a top 20 next week. But every week, the top 10 is there for you. It's consistent. It's banging. And today, it's like half sports related, half not sports related. Based purely off looks, I'm giving my top 10 flags from World Cup knockout teams. I was looking at the flags a lot with the brackets and everything. So what my decision was is just based off of how I think they look aesthetically, how pleasing they are to my eyes. I gave you my top 10 flags of, knockout teams in the World Cup. So starting off at number 10, I got Croatia. I love red, white, and blue just as a color scheme. That's probably the American in me. They got the little crest in the middle. I might be a little biased because I am Croatian myself, but I like the flag. It looks nice. I love when there are crests on flags or just any other little design that's not just like a couple of bars of color. So I'm giving Croatia the 10 spot. I got Sweden 9th just because I'm a big fan of the blue and gold color combination. I like when those two colors go together. It's a simple flag. It's not like, this is like crazy design, because none of the flags really are of the teams that were in the knockout stage. But I just like the color scheme of Sweden. So I got them at 9. I got Spain at 8th. I like the red and the yellow mixing together. Once again, another little like crest on there as well. I don't know what the proper term would be to call that, so that's why I'm just calling it a crest. But saw that flag a lot, obviously, throughout the World Cup, and since they've won, their jerseys look great because of those colors, and I just think red and yellow mixing together makes for a dope flag. At 7th, a little more simplistic, I got Japan, just because it's just kind of it's simple enough, but it's awesome. I mean, they have like the rising sun, like alternates, you could say, technically, of their flag, but like at its core, Japan is just the red dot and the white surrounding it. I just think it's simple, but you kind of get that rising sun vibe from it, whether or not it's like got the lines on it. I think it's a great simple flag. I got it at 7. I got the Ivory Coast at 6th, and I love orange. I love green. Those are two of my favorite colors, as I actually detailed on a different top 10 I did on this show once. So purely just based off of that, it's simple. It's just the 3 lines. It's not too crazy. The 3, like blocks going across the orange, the white, and the green. It's not too crazy. It's not the most innovative flag you've ever seen, but because of the color scheme, I'm putting it at 6. At 5, I got Mexico. Love Mexico's flag. The bird on it, the red, white, and green. I love when there's just like that little bit of extra detail on flags, I think that one is really, really cool. Not much else to say about it because, like I said, I'm just going off of how I like how they look. So I like how Mexico looks. They got it 5. At number 4, I got the Congo, the DR Congo. This was a really cool flag. I got it pulled up here. It's got the blue with the star up in the corner and the red line with like the white outlines going across it diagonally. I just think that makes for just a nice flag. I mean, it's cool. I think it's unique, especially because most of like the big countries, their flags are just like, like Germany, Belgium, Italy, Ireland. Like those flags are all just, 3 lines. France, you can lump them into that. Like there are a lot of flags that look exactly like that. Netherlands too. So the fact that, Congo switches it up a little bit, it's basic, but it's different enough. I like that. At number 3, I got Brazil. Brazil's flag is just so cool to me. The green, the yellow, the blue. I know it's not an eye in the middle, but as a kid, for some reason, I always thought of that as an eye for some reason. It's just, it's such a cool looking flag. The colors go so well together. It's just one of those flags that everybody knows it's Brazil's flag. I think it's fantastic. I got that at 3. At number 2, I got Argentina's. The white and the blue with the sun in the middle with the little face on it. It's just fun. Like I said, I like when flags add little things like that onto them instead of just being the colors, even though I have some flags on here that are just colors. But Argentina, that little sun on it, I think is iconic. It's something you only see on Argentina's flag. You don't see something like that on other flags. It's unique. I got it at number 2. And at number 1, I got the United States of America. I mean, the 50 stars for the 50 states, the stripes for the colonies. I mean, just the thought that went into the flag and what it is and what it means, especially to people of America. I mean, obviously by both looks and sprinkle in a little bit of bias, USA was going to be my one, but I'm not going to act like I know the history of the other 31 flags that were in the knockout round. If I did, that would probably change up my ranking a little bit. But like I said, I went off looks, and the USA just has the benefit of me knowing a little bit more about that flag's history when it comes to me ranking it at first. So running those flags back for you, it was Croatia at 10, Sweden at 9, Spain at 8, Japan at 7, the Ivory Coast at 6, Mexico at 5, the DR Congo at 4, Brazil at 3, Argentina at 2, and the United States of America took the top spot. So that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. First time back in a while, had to grease the wheels a little bit. I felt like I was a little rocky to start. Hadn't done this in a while, but I got my mojo going. I gave you guys some fun sports topics that I had. A lot of opinionated stuff this week, just because, like I said, with being on vacation, I just had a lot of thoughts on my mind about stuff like within the sports world, like ESPN getting bad. I think bullpens are getting bad. College sports playoffs, like all those types of things were just things I've been thinking about since I did my last show. So I just wanted to use this platform to get all those opinions out onto the internet. So I'm happy that 323 of you were here to listen to them. I hope every single one of you enjoyed the show, and I hope you all come back next week because we're back to every week Givin Takes. I don't have any plans to leave for a while, so you're stuck with me every Monday at 9:30 p.m. until we get a little bit closer to football season. I'll mention this more as we get closer to the date, but when we inch near football season, this show will be switching to Tuesday nights because all sports fans, including me, we're going to be glued to Monday Night Football on Monday nights. You're not going to be watching Givin Takes when Monday Night Football is on. Heck, I won't want to be recording Givin Takes while Monday Night Football is on. So it's going to switch to a Tuesday night show where I'll be able to cover the football week that just happened while simultaneously using that as a good time to forecast the football week that is ahead of us. So you can all get ready for that. I'll throw out reminders and switches of show times as we get closer. You can expect that to happen about beginning of September, so about 4 weeks. And yeah, until then, I hope you keep coming back. I hope you keep watching and liking the show and following me and the Empty the Bench Network on all the socials. And I've been Nate Miller. Those are my takes.